Once upon a time, Cartoon Network was more than just a brand, more than just a channel. It was a living, breathing city. It was a vibrant and interconnected world full of all the characters we know and love, going about their daily lives. It was the perfect embodiment of everything Cartoon Network stood for, when its slogan, "The best place for cartoons," was actually true. So, what happened? Well, I blame these monstrosities. Just disgusting.
Hurry it up, Ed! My arms are getting tired.
I'm almost there! Got it! Almost lost you, little buddy.
In 2004, Cartoon Network was looking to rebrand itself. At this point, they had grown substantially since they initially launched in 1992. No longer were they in the rerun hell and relying on Hanna-Barbera cartoons and MGM cartoons. It had its own original properties now, with characters that had become very popular among audiences. Dexter's Laboratory, Cow and Chicken, Johnny Bravo, Codename Kids Next Door, Billy and Mandy, Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends. You get what I'm saying, they had a full menu now. And this meant that they needed to approach their brand in an entirely new way.
This is Cartoon Network.
Sea and City, originally known as Reface 2004, was Cartoon Network's push at truly establishing itself as a strong, recognizable, and cohesive brand. Nickelodeon had their slime and Disney had their wand thing. It was time for Cartoon Network to have something of their own. They were still in what is referred to as the Powerhouse era due to its use of Raymond Scott's Powerhouse soundtrack and many of their bumpers and advertising. But this didn't last long due to Turner Broadcasting losing the rights to the iconic theme, forcing Cartoon Network to replace it, further signaling that a change needed to be made. In 2001, Jen Samples took the reins, replacing the original president, Betty Cohen. Rumor is there were some creative differences in the direction and strategy of the network. And you know I like my gossip, but I actually think this was true. She did also say, "I was afraid I would die the queen of cartoons." And I have to say, out of all the ways to go out, that wouldn't be so bad. But Cartoon Network was definitely changing the goals of the network. Betty Cohen leaving would symbolize the end of the network's animation first era, which in my opinion really sucks. Forget America, make animation great again, I say. With Jim Samples, we would see the beginning of what I believe will later become Seeing Real. Under his leadership, we will see the network trying to make their programming more relatable by including real-world aspects. With all of its success, Cartoon Network's ratings were actually in the toilet compared to their competition. Nickelodeon and Disney were dominating among viewers with the relatable teen shows like Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, That's So Raven, and Lizzie McGuire. And they were even having a hard time competing with other animated shows like SpongeBob. SpongeBob actually continues to be an unstoppable force. It must be that beautiful laugh of his.
They love it.
Jim Samples would say in an interview, "We think when it's done the Cartoon Network way, kids will enjoy seeing animation and the real world collide." He was actually referring to the new movie Reanimated that was airing on Cartoon Network, but I think this perfectly captures what was happening at this time, and how with the push for profitability, commercialization, and to provide more live action elements, the idea for Seeing Real would be born. Cartoon Network would begin to air more live-action programming, and even notable animation-themed movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which is thought to have inspired more use of animation in live-action entertainment, making it quite memorable.
You had plenty money, 1922.
Hey now, let's keep it PG. And CN City wouldn't be the first time Cartoon Network had the idea to place their animated characters in a real-world context. It had always been the goal to not just create a network, but to create an entire world that anyone, child or adult, could see themselves in. Although, promos that I definitely remember were the ones released around 2002 that featured two guys coming into contact with various animated characters. One of the most popular among these was the one that featured the Powerpuff Girls.
Is it dead?
Oh no.
You okay, Buttercup?
It's Blossom, man.
Don't touch it. What you touch it for?
Just checking her out.
And this is actually where I confess my conspiracy for the Cartoon Network logo, because many refer to the Cartoon Network design as the checkerboard design, but notice in the shot what they are playing: chess. So actually, I think the logo is not a checkerboard, but a chessboard. And you might be saying checkerboard and chessboards are the same thing, and that's fair, but while the boards are the same, the two games are very different. You know I'm right. And this direction the network was going was somewhat right as well for the time. The idea for CN City would come from Cartoon Network On Air, which was a department that specialized in on-air advertising.
You're a groovy, a menu, an ID, or sometimes I get reused for a repost when a show changes time slots. Heck, I could even be image advertising for the whole network. Cartoon On Air takes care of all that stuff, all to make sure that everyone who's watching at home knows what's on when and what network they're watching.
Nickelodeon?
That's not funny, kid.
And they would then shop around the idea for CN City among various animation studios until they settled on Animal Logic, located in Australia. Surprisingly, during this time, Animal Logic was also working on another iconic piece of animation, Happy Feet, which taught us all how penguins can dance. Oh, and the dangerous effects of pollution, of course.
Loveness, you okay? Oh, he's possessed. Oh no.
It's a seizure! It's a seizure! Over the beat! Grab his song!
Animal Logic was tasked to create a 3D generated world featuring various locations and characters from Cartoon Network shows. What actually secured them the job was a test shot for Dexter's laboratory of the interior of his house. Cartoon Network loved it, and Animal Logic went on to make several CN City bumpers, utilizing 2D characters within a 3D world. Most of CN City is made of notable locations from Cartoon Network shows: the treehouse from Kiss Next Door, City Hall from Powerpuff Girls, even Titan's Tower from Teen Titans. They all existed together in this cohesive landscape. I mean, Cartoon Network was doing this crossover thing before the first Avengers movie. Remember those days when Marvel wasn't a mess? But this was an entire world where characters were going on subways, going to the store, playing hide and seek in the parking lot. The team needed to include other areas where interactions among the characters could happen. So they built an entire downtown area completely from scratch that featured various themed shops and locations, and it allowed the characters to be present in a generalized location. CN City worked because it made a bridge between the shows during television commercial breaks. Remember television? If you're watching this from the future, they were these square or rectangle things that displayed entertainment in a linear format. I imagine this is not as important as the apocalypse you're probably facing right now, but thought you should know. But instead of seeing the shows as separate things, CN City allowed viewers to connect the shows and characters, which allowed them to see the network as one cohesive world of cartoons, and as something real. But I would go even further and say something surreal, because it provided a sort of meta space between Cartoon Network properties. Yet another idea that Mark Zuckerberg has stolen. But things were getting a little too real over at Cartoon Network. The network was pivoting hard to capture that sweet tween and young adult demographic. And around 2007, we would get Hulu and Netflix launching their streaming services. What's funny is Animal Logic is now currently owned by Netflix, with Netflix acquiring the company in 2022. Everything was moving digital, which did not match the linear flow of television of viewing one show, a commercial, then another show. CN City was also really expensive. It was an entire 3D world with 2D animated characters layered on top. It was like a full-on movie. By 2008, Cartoon Network would swap it out with something that was flat, fast, and cheap, that could be easily replicated on various digital formats. This is when we would get the Cartoon Network nudes. Not those nudes you'd dirty, dirty mind. They were these bland, blobby mannequins, and apparently the name was short for neutral dudes. But don't worry, not all is lost, because this era of Cartoon Network has had a lasting impact. You can look at shows like Amazing World of Gumball as a great example of this style and how much it contributed to the appeal of the show. CN City really helped elevate Cartoon Network and prove that they really saw their shows and characters as something that was special and connected. It was a time where you could really see the level of love, care, and almost reverence for what they were able to create. Too bad it was sold for scraps on eBay, but hey, what can you do? That's capitalism for you. So that's what happened to CN City. It sucks that it's no longer here, but it will always be certifiable proof for a time when Cartoon Network was the best place for cartoons.
We're back. I am Weasel. Hey, nice to meet you.
That's that sound.
Now it's Codename Kids Next Door. Then it's the life and times of Juniper Lee. This is Cartoon Network.